National Signing Day drama for Florida State, but as long as that single digit stands next to the name, it's a pretty damn good signing class. Welcome into the Voice of College Football, FSU. We do this each and every Wednesday, not just on National Signing Day, folks. We're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Big game. James Coleman right next to me. Fifth Quarter College Football. Den Media Group. That's the place that you got to check out right here on YouTube. And George Georgitis, the Renegade Report. We appreciate George hosting our post-game show right here at the Voice of College Football as well. Get on over to Renegade Report. Guys, how we doing tonight?
Good. I'm good.
Good, man. Busy. This is like the third show in 12 hours. James has got another show coming up, just talking Florida State football, trying to keep the fan base, the more casual fan base, followers who kind of don't get into recruiting till signing days. And even those, the ones that follow it every single day of the year. It's like you get so hung up on one guy or two guys when you got, Florida State brought in 23 pretty darn good guys, Mark. And like you said, you can hang right there in that top 10. Look, it's where we all had us preseason, said where we needed to be. You get a little hope. You think there's a chance you can make a run at number one, and look, they make a run. They didn't get Jeremiah Smith. You lose KJ, but hey, still probably have the best DB class in the nation. You've got a top 5 quarterback. You've got a top 5 running back, top 5 tight end. I don't care how far they've dropped him. He was number 1 when he flipped to us, and Landon Thomas. So overall, just happy, man. Excited.
Well, James, why don't we start with what's hanging in the balance here? And we were talking about it before we started to record. Jeremiah Smith, at his announcement, selected Ohio State. However, that's not necessarily official, and we want to welcome in, of course, Chris Frazier, Spear Addicts, joining the show. But Jeremiah Smith has committed to Ohio State. Many of us have expected a flip in recent weeks to either Florida State or Miami. That didn't happen necessarily yet, although he made this commitment announcement to Ohio State. Although the signed letter of intent, or as you mentioned, James, his grant of aid not officially been processed. So he's still on the just commitment list.
Yeah. Until they can figure out what was going on with that and the thing is signed, it's like he is officially still a free agent. And that's a set of drama that I'm glad I don't necessarily, I mean, he's good. He's worth it. But I mean, that would probably be even more pins and needles. It probably would be another kick in the gonads for FSU fans because, Jeremiah Smith has been much of the talk for quite some time. And you saw what happened last year where you had another similar top wide receiver in Akeem Williams, who everybody was highly coveted, and you were able to get him and win the NIL battles. But, and just some of the things that are rumored to be going on with him, actually him and a few other guys, just astronomical, really, really cool numbers if true. Even if not true, guys that made decisions. And I always tell them, to miss to Ohio State or to miss to Georgia aren't really the end of the world. You got to be in these battles. And but I get it. Fans with 13-0, fans expect to have a little bit more success. But as me and you were talking offline, Mark, I mean, we're not in the college football playoff. We haven't been there 3 consecutive years, and we're ranked ahead of Michigan and the other guy. I don't know what Michigan's needs were, but I think it's more of a pride thing, and we troll a lot in Big 3 Twitter. It's a lot of trash talk, and I think it's just guys want to be able to talk trash and not substance. And the game is played on the field, but Jeremiah Smith definitely is a guy that if anybody gets him would definitely be the thing you trot around with in regards to recruiting.
Chris, good to see you. Appreciate you being here. Your thoughts about where we stand with Florida State's class at number 6?
Me personally, I mean, it's a substantial difference than what it was last year, and also each year that Mike Norvell's been here. Actually, Mike Norvell's entire coaching tenure, he's never landed a class ranked this high. So I'm not I can't be I can't be upset when one guy flips from you and one guy doesn't flip to you, but you sign 21 commits that make your class rank number 6. I can't be upset with that. I have to celebrate it. Like I'm a little bit indifferent. I understand that it's a big hit. It doesn't feel good for Georgia to come in and take your top safety or even your top recruit at the last moment. I understand that, but we traded a 5-star tight end for a 5-star safety. We took their tight end away from them and Landon Thomas. So fair is fair. We'll see next year if he's in the portal or not.
Exactly. That's the whole other deal with this is that we don't know how long these guys are going to stick in regards to playing at these universities for a year, 2, 3, 4, and how long that's going to last. That's going to be numbers somebody's going to run 3 or 4 years from now to see what kind of retention rate these classes have. But that's to be decided later.
We did just land Denos White in this class as well. That just happened. He just committed.
Very nice. Very nice. Nice add to the D line there to go along with Jamori Flagg and D.D. Holmes. Underrated guy. Kind of like the tight end or the linebacker we got, Jaden Parrish. I think those are 2 names you could really see, especially in a couple of years, be some big-time players for Florida State.
I do have a question because there's someone that posted this in the comments. If any coach gets a top 10 class, would they be considered a below average recruiter? Has anyone else been called a below average recruiter with a top 6 class?
Not that I know of.
No, I think what happened again, it goes back to this, Chris. And the problem, one of the biggest problems in media and content, especially with 24-hour news cycle, is that something has to always be spoken. And you're always pushing things out there. And a lot of people maybe have been too positive about it, but sometimes there's no news to report. And when guys are putting stuff out there, and you've seen this happen 3 years in a row, folks start finding little things to nitpick at. And what I've suggested to FSU fans is we're falling into a trap that's a no-win situation for us. When you fight, that's why they always say you got to punch up, you don't punch down. When you're punching down, you're never in a good situation because those people are going to always move the goalpost. I just had somebody retweet me as I made a joke about, hey, take the money that we were going to give to Jeremiah Smith, give it to KJ Bolden, LJ McCray, and Mincy from our Daytona Mainland. More as a joke, and the guy was like, anybody want to tell him he's a Florida fan? And I'm like, yo, it's top 10. It's people with top 10 classes talking up here. Like you stay over there. Like you don't have any room to joke about anything that's going on over here. And then at the same time, Miami fans, while they're having a really good recruiting class, understand that the game is to be played on the football field, so they can't really enjoy it because they have to find something to pick at when the reality is you want to be on the football field. But I come back and I say this to people. While we can appreciate the recruiting class that our rival has had, it's more to it than just beating your rival. We got to be able to win more games on the field. Obviously, we saw just beating our rival isn't it. But does Florida State still have a team that they're going to field that gives them the ability to win 10 to 11 games? Right now, without going into it, Mark, obviously there's still a lot of question marks. I'd feel comfortable predicting Florida State at 9 to 10 wins this year. I don't know who the quarterback is going to be, but I feel we're down between 2 that I believe will make us exponentially better than most of the opponents on our schedule. Notre Dame doesn't count against the ACC. So we can still go out there, and I only see Notre Dame and Clemson as the 2 games on the schedule right now that just give me an absolute fear outside of your natural rivalries. So, the goal is to win football games. And did the floor raise with this recruiting class? Is there still valuable pieces out there that you can get in the transfer portal And do you feel like this class, or do you feel like this team gives you the opportunity to be able to achieve the standard? The standard is the standard, and it will always be the standard. And the standard is to compete for championships. Doesn't mean you're going to always win them, but it means you have to be able to compete for them. And what I would have to do is go through and I would check yes, yes, and yes. I would check all those. Florida State is still in contention for that. Now, secondary superlative gifts or prizes mean absolutely nothing to me until they start raising banners for we had the number 1 recruiting class in the nation. It's always measured because you can typically see like Georgia, Bama, and those guys have it. But again, when I look at teams that are consistent, even though they can't get past the first round, I look at what Michigan has been able to do. I look at what TCU has been able to do. I look at what other guys have been able to do. And good coaching will get you into a situation. Hell, having the 22nd best roster in college football isn't what prevented us from being in the college football playoff. Somebody else, 13 other people had to beat us. So I think the staff, based upon also with the schedule, if we were playing Florida schedule, Mark, I ain't even gonna hold you. I'd be like, yo, this isn't good enough. But for what we have in front of us and what we're consistently doing, and for what I know our 25 class could be and what I know is still in the portal, I'm okay. I like it. We got the best wide receiver class the last 2 years that we've had in years. We got one of the best secondary classes that we've had in years. Now, where we have failed and having a Blunt would have helped, we have to get better on the defensive line. And I'd argue Blunt is a DN. So that's still not even an area where I feel we needed to attack, which is D tackle.
Are there any concerns about Armando Blunt? He's the one guy that's hanging out there as just a hard commit.
Yeah, that I think it's a pretty much consensus. That's a Miami kid. I don't think we talk about losing one guy. I think that was a pretty much foregone conclusion. He could, if he picks Florida State, I think that would be the shock at this point, Mark. And just to touch on what the subject that we were all talking about right there, the early signing day changed it. It's like it's not the same as it used to be, and the 21 guys that signed, they were so locked in that people just forget about it. And we named all the different players, but back in the day, it used to be you had a lot of guys who weren't committed all the way up to signing day. You had a few flips, but it felt like Christmas when signing day got here. You got those alerts in. There was always 5 or 6 guys that you had to wait till signing day. Were they going to commit? And you had a pretty good idea. Nowadays, I mean, really, you're talking about 1 or 2 kids in the class. We didn't get the big flip that we wanted, but at the end of the day, you love it. We all predicted, I think all 3 of us predicted like 7 to 12 before the year came, and that's where they're going to end up. I love it. So, yeah, hate to lose Blunt, but yeah, it'd be a surprise if he picked the Noles.
He didn't.
Oh, they already made it official.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a Hurricane.
But will he stay that?
That's the question.
Chris, who's the linebacker that just came in? White.
D tackle, I believe.
Oh,
yeah,
tackle. Okay.
Yeah, he's a defensive tackle. He reminds me. Okay, so he's like Jaden Parrish in this class. A lot of people didn't know a lot about him. He's one of those dogs that doesn't bark, so a lot of people didn't know about him. But he also, like you had Miami, Florida State, LSU, Texas, and Texas A&M, if I'm not mistaken, and then a couple other ACC schools that really wanted the kid. And like a lot of people were talking about him today, hey, is this kid going to commit to Florida State? Is this the one that we were planning on picking up that people didn't anticipate? And I'm very proud of the way that he conducted himself throughout the whole process, because it was kind of he had known we wanted him for a while, but it was kind of last minute for it to be committable. And the moment that we gave him the A-OK, he committed to Florida State. So I like the guys that want to be here. But what he is as a player, I mean, I know the term dog gets thrown around a lot, but that's what he is. He's very underrated. He's played at a school that didn't or doesn't get a whole lot of hype around it. And I'm not saying they don't get any, but they don't get a lot. They don't get like the IMG or Chaminade or any of that. They don't usually get that. So I'm really excited for what he's going to bring to the table. as a young guy because I believe he's beyond his years. I think he's going to be a good piece that Florida State is going to be able to utilize quicker than most people anticipate.
21 signed. Most of the other teams are a few higher than that in the 25, 28 range, something there. Do we expect FSU to be doing any more work, whether that's in the next couple of days or toward February?
So I think with Mincy, you'll be doing work with him unless that goes out the window. As of right now, I think you've got a good shot with Mincy. There's another defensive tackle that isn't signed. I think he's ranked number 10 on the overall list. There's also a linebacker. I'm trying to remember where he's from. But Florida State's definitely doing work. There's actually going to be like 6 kids that I think that they're going to try to recruit at a heavy rate in between now and February.
Heck yeah. Yeah, Florida State, I believe the average is around 91.52, which is, and that's the big thing. That's the big jump this year. You know, Miami 1 or 2 spots ahead, but they've got 4 or 5 more guys. May end up with like 30. So yeah, if we could pick up a couple more guys, even if they're not big dudes, that could vault the season even up a little bit higher. But even if we don't, really happy with what we got, and we got to figure out this quarterback situation.
Yeah, it looks like Florida State's got a higher average player ranking than everybody below them, except Auburn's slightly higher. Texas A&M's only got 17 commits. They're slightly higher as well at that 91.5 number. So regardless of how you slice it, if you throw everyone in or you go average player ranking, it's a roughly top 5 to 7 class in the country. So now it's time to retain them and develop them and get them ready to win championships.
And I think, Mark, that's where I think, in my eyes, Norvell and the staff has proven to do their best work as far as developing talent. I mean, that's what I see, whether it's from the portal or whether it's Pat Payton or somebody that was here before they got here or someone they recruited in like Armella. To me, that's basically what I hang my hat on as a Florida State fan, first and foremost. Secondly, to cover them. I mean, you can't deny that the 22nd most talented roster is what Florida State had last year, according to most. And you went 13-0 with it. According to Miami's roster, their roster was better than ours. Also, according to the rankings, their roster was better than ours. They had 8 5-stars on their team at Miami. That's more wins than they had.
Oh my, that's hilarious. Yeah, it's that's what I've been trying to tell everybody. If you look at the trajectory of what Mike Norvell's done, it's been a steady, not to be cliche, but it's been a steady climb. A little bit better, a little bit better. You don't get lost in the moment. People, like I said, we got excited. We had a shot to go at number 1, but you still got a top 5 to 10 class. You still got a top 5 quarterback, top 5 running back, all those good things. It's just an exciting time. Can't wait to see Mike Norvell get his hands on these things. And also, you've got 15 3-stars coming out of the back end. That floor is steadily getting raised, and this is probably the most considerable upgrade in talent thus far. When you look at it all across the board, when it comes to the high school talent, it's going to be a major shock. And I think people are going to really be surprised at just kind of the overall level of play when they get out there on the field. I think, especially that offensive line, people are going to really be surprised this coming year. John Daniels, Jaden Todd, what's the third one? Jaden Todd, Jonathan Daniels, and there's one more offensive lineman we signed. Oh, Manasa Tite out of California. I mean, that's a good trio of linemen to go along with what you have.
So we're very early in the transfer portal cycle. Marvin Jones Jr. is the one pickup from Georgia off the edge. Of course, he's a legacy, and he comes back home. It became common knowledge across college football that what Mike Norvell did in the transfer portal was probably the best job of any outside of Dion, who had to build an entire roster. But in terms of contenders, in terms of the main players in college football, he did the best job of in terms of quantity and quality of players. But one, so far, we're very early in the process. Do we think that he's going to make the kind of moves that he did last year? Is he going to need to make that many moves? Certain positions, do you think, are in play?
He's going to make the moves that are necessary. And I know that's a very broad answer, but no, he won't have to pull in the type of or the amount of players that he had to the previous years, even including last year. You don't really need to. You might go get one wide receiver, maybe, but last year you needed 4. And then tight end wise, you might bring in one where you brought in 2 or 3. At the quarterback position, you didn't bring in any. You're going to bring in 1. At running back, you're probably not going to bring in anyone unless it's the right guy. It's also in this particular, the first portal opening, I don't think he's going to have to take that many because we have to be honest. The portal is oversaturated right now with a bunch of talent that's in it. The issue is that talent necessary to what where your floor is right now? Are they good enough to raise the floor? And the answer to that is, in the majority, is no. So the next portal class, which getting closer to spring, is the one that we usually hit pretty hard. So I think the reason of that being is because then guys find out, hey, I don't like the direction that that the team's going in. I don't like the role that I'm playing. I can do more than this. I'm going to rotate with 4 guys that I shouldn't have to if I go elsewhere, etc. You might pull a defensive tackle, but that is like really, you might pull 6 to 10 guys at most in my eyes. Maybe more because you didn't get 28 in this class or 25. So you might make it up to 13 or so. But I don't know if it's necessary because of the talent that's coming back. Like, I know that everyone's focused on Jared Versus leaving. Kalen DeLoach, that's the position I should have started with. Linebacker is probably who you'll pull in from the portal. But you have 2 guys that did have significant amount of snaps this year, Nichols and Omar Graham Jr. I think people are sleeping on both of those young men. I think they're going to be huge parts of Florida State's success. But everyone has an expectation that you're supposed to be bringing in Marvin Jones seniors and Derek Brookses, and it's not the type of football we play anymore. They technically are oversized or undersized DBs is technically what you're running with these guys. So the nickel spot, maybe you pull someone and being a linebacker / safety, but you see what we have in Conrad Hussey. You see what you've got in Azaria Thomas. Like, the corners, the DBs in my eyes are taken care of. The wide receivers, other than if it's just a Keon Coleman type, you don't need nobody. Running back wise, I don't see how you need anybody. Linebacker, maybe you take another defensive end. I don't think you need it, but maybe you would. Defensive tackle, I would say you take 1 or 2. But this is where Mike does his best work. So, like, he has to show me that he's not going to do it for me to believe he's not going to. So it's, to me, you're going to attack the portal of necessities.
Absolutely. I think the reason we didn't, like last year, this was such a senior laden team. They were worried about retainment, but they knew just exactly what we needed. They knew right what we needed to be able to compete in 2023, and they went out and got it. I think this year, finding out if you're going to land Jeremiah Smith, you don't land him. So maybe now you look at Evan Stewart, who just hit the portal out of Texas A&M. But if it's not a player like that, like Chris said, you're not just going to bring in any just random wide receiver. You don't have that issue of trying to raise the floor of these rooms outside of maybe a linebacker where you're just going to be super thin for the most part. But, if you can bring in Evan Stewart, if you can bring in Cam Ward, DJU, we're gonna do that. He is gonna do that. I predicted 10 to 12 guys. I've been on that heavy, early and often, And as slow as it's been, I'm a little worried. Maybe it's a little lower. Maybe it's closer to 5 or 6. But I also feel like it's just kind of a weird portal year. It feels like I think Chris alluded to it. There's a lot of mid out there. There isn't a lot of stuff you're going to bring in and really change a position group. There's some depth, if you need to bring in some linebackers because you don't have depth, but there's not the Keon Colemans and Jared Verses all over the place this year. So we'll see who else hits after some of these bowl games and in that spring portal class. And he could absolutely bring 10, 12, 13 guys like he has, but he's going to continue to do what Mike Norvell has done. And the portal class might be a little bit how he treated high school the first 2 or 3 years. He's only going to bring in Florida State guys he thinks he can come in and help possibly for multiple years. He's not going to sign portal people just to, say I've got a good portal class, but he will definitely grab some good pieces if they hit the market.
Cam Ward has wrapped up his visits, and DJ Uiagalelei, I don't know that he has any other scheduled visits where he stands, but he has obviously visited FSU as well. Do we have a lean on which direction they're going to go? Or do we have a preference between those two? I know that I would have one, I believe, not that I've seen him play a ton of football.
Well, I would assume that means that lead would be Cam Ward.
My lean would be Cam Ward. I've seen DJ play a lot of football. Cam Ward, he's played for Washington State. And for as much as I watch a ton of college football and watch as much as possible, can't say that I sit down and watch a lot of Washington State football. So I've seen a throw here and a throw there and a drive there and a drive here. But DJ I've seen play a lot. And I know that he can be better than what he's shown, but I don't know that he is a Florida State class quarterback.
So the way how I put this is I think that I'm going to trust Mike on whichever one he wants. And I think a lot of people are anticipating that Florida State or someone is waiting on one of these two to make a decision, and that's not the case. If that was the case, DJ would have already committed. So what it is each of them are waiting on Mike to say, okay, you can commit, whichever one he ends up picking. I don't think it's the opposite way. I don't think that Cam Ward is holding off to look at his NFL draft. I don't think that Cam Ward is not making a decision. So, hey, DJ, we're going to wait until Cam makes a decision. You're not going to tell another quarterback that. So I think the way Mike spun it, which maybe the truth is that he is waiting on Cam. I think the way that Mike spun it is look, we're going to check both of y'all out. We're going to show you the playbooks. We're going to see if y'all understand the terminology. We're going to do the X, Y, and Z, and then we'll let y'all know when we want you to commit. I don't think he said y'all. Each one of them will let you know. I know that sounds completely opposite of what people might think, but I don't think that Florida State's in a situation where they just have to take whoever wants to commit. They're going to take who fits the system and who's going to get them back into the contingent. So I personally think that Mike is ready to choose who he wants. And maybe he's already told one of those two guys, and they're waiting until after National Signing Day, or not National Signing Day, early signing day as of today, so it doesn't take anything away from the young men that committed today. So it wouldn't surprise me as if by Friday that one of these two end up committing to Florida State. So the way that I break this down is only giving the negatives. The reason I don't want DJU, majority reason he has Clemson blood. Second reason is that he freezes in big games. I don't like when young men don't want the ball to win the game. Winners want the ball. He doesn't seem to want the ball. Now he can disprove that and show me otherwise. But with Cam Ward, my biggest issue with him is he's had 30 fumbles in the past 2 seasons. But is that because his offensive line is terrible? Is it because he's trying to make a play every play that he gets the ball? Is he running for his life on the majority of the plays that he has the ball? Like, there's a lot of things that cause you to fumble the ball 30 times. It's not just the way you hold the ball, which that also can be fixed. So to me, I think that Coach Norvell and Tony Tokarts, with either one that they get, this will be the best that you've seen them play in college. I think if we get DJU, this will be the best that you've seen him play. If we get Cam Ward, it will definitely be the best that you've ever seen him play. So I'm down for either one. I think Florida State's leaning toward Cam Ward personally, but I'm not going to be upset if they get DJU. I just, long as he does the blood infusion where he takes the orange and white out and puts garnet and gold in, I'll be good.
Yeah, man. It's one of those things. It's pretty unprecedented. I can't really remember a situation like this where you've got the portal and quarterback being such a huge and hot commodity, and you've got two of the top guys. And people can argue or not believe you all they want, but look at it. I mean, neither one of them is committed. There's not a bunch of smoke about their flirting with other schools. You've got two guys waiting on FSU to figure it out. I trust Mike Norvell implicitly. If it was somebody else with a different track record or I didn't trust, I'd be like, man, I would be really worried. But it really seems like you end up with one of these two, and whichever one he gets, I'm fine with. Chris talked about it a little bit. They're just two different guys, both with good qualities. He named some of the the bad qualities. I'll name some of the better qualities. I think Cam Ward is a guy, if you have everything together, if Mike Norvell, Derek Ray gets this roster built the correct way and they've got an offensive line for him, they have a running game for him, they maybe pick up a Evan Stewart, he can take you all the way, possibly compete for a title again next year. I think DJU provides a bit bigger of a floor, maybe less aversion to turnovers, less boomer busts, less necessary, might get some big fumble for a touchdown or whatever. He can cover up maybe some holes on your offensive line and be able to tuck that ball and not fumble if he gets just absolutely lit up on a blown assignment. So he provides that floor, but as far as the highest ceiling, I think that's why you go with Cam Ward, and these coaches think they can get somebody in here and coach them up. I mean, if you're going to play at Florida State, fumbling, it's either going to get eradicated or it's just going to be a colossal failure and he'll never see the field. But I think if he comes in, they'll be able to figure out the turnovers and get it done. And Cam Ward he's the guy. He's the guy with the X factor you want at the end of the day. There's no getting around it.
Let's pick up the super chat. Then we'll hear from James. We've got Hurricane Central. This should be a good one. If I had a nickel for every time FSU lost a 5-star, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird. It happened twice.
I want to make sure I get this statistic.
Hurricane
right.
Central.
That's lost 5 stars at some point.
That's interesting, though. For context, this past season, Miami had 8 5-stars on their roster, which is more 5-stars than wins. So if Miami had a 5-star for every win they had, they'd have less 5-stars than what's on the actual roster. So if the goal is like Pokemon to collect 5-stars, maybe they will be good. But at the end of the day, you got to coach them up and put them out there. Unfortunately, I just found out about Blunt, and I didn't have him. I think Blunt's going to be a great player in the next 4 to 5 years. Did you realize he's 16 years old right now? He doesn't turn 17 until that. I don't understand reclassification. I get pushing back. I don't understand pushing forward. I went to college at 17. And I turned 18 during camp. Now my body was completely different that next season, but I was also a grown man. It's wow. I mean, I think that kid's gonna be good. But he wasn't gonna do anything for us this year, which is still sucks. Still stinks the way that it kind of went, but kudos to him for making whatever he feels is the best. This is the part that I don't understand, and this is why I was telling. This is why I think our fans are struggling. Is because we want to argue with people like this. And if the goal is if the goal is to rack up recruits and just do that and not win on the field, man, they way better than us at that. But for the last 3 years, they've had a better roster. They've had better ingredients, better pizza, better toppings, all that Papa John's logo, and yet they're over in the last three years. And I'd argue that outside of Manny's last year, these last 2 years, the game really hasn't been out of hand at all. It hasn't. Florida State has not at any point felt like they didn't have the opportunity to win that game. So I mean, again, the goal is to push there. I'm not gonna punch down. It makes absolutely no sense to do that. But I was looking through it. We've had in the last 5 years, since 2017, we finished 6th overall. And in that 6th ranked class, I don't think any of those, again, no disrespect to those no's. I love them to death. A few of them are playing in the NFL, I believe. Joshua Kando was in that class. Janoris Robinson was in that class. Marvin Wilson was in that class. But none of those guys, and those are some of the 5 stars, none of those guys left overall huge impressions with what they did on the field. Probably the least productive, one of the least productive senior classes that we've had in quite some time. Actually, in that senior class, they were part of 2 of the worst seasons we've had in Florida State history, which again, no, not that they were trying to do that, but it's just coaching matters. Since then, we've had a 22, a 21, 2 19 ranked classes, I believe, and then last year was 16th, if I remember correctly. Oh, hold on, Killer, come here. And then this year we ranked pretty high, so I'm gonna go with what I want. I'm gonna go with that. Like I like that. I like the climb. I like the trajectory. Win games again. We'll probably finish with consistently top 10 classes. And now we go find out what we're going to do with a quarterback at the helm. I think Cam Ward is between us and the NFL. Not us in Miami. I would argue us in the NFL. And then DJ, however he says, now I got to figure out if he comes to us. I guess I got to figure out how to say it the right way. I think he's, they're waiting on that. And you get that, and now you start looking at you look in the transfer portal and you clean up for what you got. You're in a situation now where they can go attack strategically and not just try to grab parts. I think one of the problems that we did have going back to 2017 with the 6th ranked class, what Jimbo did during his last few years at Florida State, and he continued that at Texas A&M, is just going on a wild chase of just acquiring talent and hoping that it sticks and throwing it at the wall and hoping something comes with it. I think in recruiting now, especially with the NIL, especially with the transfer portal, you've got to be strategic. And I had a friend who's in college coaching kind of talk to me with some context. And again, I love speaking with people who are in the field and who are practicing this stuff. He's like, fans have asked for a salary cap de facto, and they got one. And they're seeing what happens with the salary cap because you just can't get everybody. And when I think about what happened, for example, Georgia couldn't get KJ until Dylan Raiola left, I'd argue. Now you lost that player. You have money freed up that you already would have allocated to that position. Now you can go make that happen. Ohio State has lost quite a few guys this in the last day or so. Now you can take those monies, reallocate, make sure that you go get this prospect you wanted to get. Florida State was sitting there maxed out at basically what they probably felt like they could go and use on this. And what do? You lost. Win some, you lose some. Let's go get it on the field.
Chris, are we right on the banner here? Sunday 4:30, Monday and Thursday at 8.
That is correct.
Nice. Spear Addicts, folks, right here on YouTube with Chris on a Sunday at 4:30, Monday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. George, what's going on there at Renegade Report?
Running on like thunder. We got a show coming up Friday we run around 7 Eastern usually, Fridays and Tuesdays, and then on Sunday we do our show usually around noon-ish. But just Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. That's the main days. And of course, next week we'll be here as usual. I think you got something going on, so I'll be hosting this next week. And then the Orange Bowl post game for the Voice of College Football. So
got some family in
stuff.
Town next week. George is taking over on Wednesday and probably won't let me back. I don't know. Big game.
No.
Same old. We're about 114, I think, away from 4,000. Yeah, 114 away from 4,000 subscribers on the Den Media Group channel. Every time we get to an increment of 1,000, we give away 10% of that in cash. So we'll give away $400 once we get to that. And then we give away another second prize to the amount of likes. So we got some cool things. Today's show was supposed to go in a different direction, but it was National Signing Day. And so we ended up just talking a lot about signing day transfer portal. Tonight at 8 p.m., I hope Chris, George, and whoever else wants to join well, come to the channel and we'll do a signing day recap where we'll just chop it up and talk about the class, and then really kind of go in detail to what the roster actually, the scholarship acquisition, scholarship distributions are, and where we need to go, and maybe what some things in the portal, how many guys we can go get. It's not, the list on 247 isn't all the way accurate, but it does give you a list of some things. Some guys have declared, some guys are hitting the transfer portal, but we kind of already know what's going on with that. And just to make sense of what the day was and how things shaped out. There's been a lot of unnecessary drama that's been going on with everything. But I like it. I like what we got going, and that's basically it. Big Games BS. We had a show today. The show today was pretty cool. And then outside of that, probably on Friday, I'll recap more of what my day was like. I went and hung out with our signing day. We had a kid actually signed to UM. And I got a chance to hang out with Derek Plaz, really good kid. Derek Plaz, I'm going to make this announcement, is probably going to be the first person to produce UM related content on my channel. The kid is just a dope kid. I think he, jokingly, tongue in cheek, I think he made a bad decision. But I think he's so well spoken. He's such a good kid that I think if anybody can make the best out of a crappy situation, Derek will be able to make it. And I'm gonna let him talk a little bit about what's going on with Miami and his thoughts on the class and things of that nature, man. I think he's a dope kid. Again, he is probably how I would like. You could tell he's mature, and you could tell who. Like I always tell Chris and everybody, you could tell who influences you. Or you can tell where you get your news from by the way you talk. And if you look at the way he talks and trolls people on social media, you can tell who's influenced, because it's very much so factual and sticking to the point that he's happy that they're having a good recruiting class, and he doesn't shift off of that. And I think a lot of Miami fans could learn a lot from that young man. Maybe they'll win. We had to teach him how to win in Mandarin. We went over there, so maybe some of that'll rub off on them a little bit, since they haven't been winning very much lately.
As you can see, everyone, we've got a good thing going here at the Voice of College Football every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We've done this 244 consecutive weeks. It's maybe apropos for me to say this on National Signing Day, because I'm one of the best talent scouts and evaluators around, because look at what I pull in right here. So you wouldn't show up, folks, for me to break down Florida State football or Miami or anyone else. You would not show up for me, but I got George, I got Chris, I got James, and they deliver. So we've got a good thing going here on Wednesday nights. So that's why I'm so adamant every week to direct all of you toward the Renegade Report, toward Spear Addicts, toward Den Media Group, because they deliver here. And this is just a slice when I bring them all together, but please follow them on their respective sites and platforms, because they deliver every day.
I'm gonna here's my issue. Okay, so Florida fans, y'all want us to be upset because you've got 2 of the top 6 players in the country and the rest of your class fell apart. Miami, you want us to be jealous of you because you out recruited us supposedly in this year. And that Florida State's down bad and it cuts deep. And you're talking to the wrong 3 people as far as Florida State goes, as far as recruiting. I'm going to be honest with you. This is the only part of the season that I dread. You might have hurt our fan base. Like, there's some psychotic people out there that are really upset based off of we didn't land this guy or that guy. Here's the funniest part. None of them upset because of what you landed. We're only upset as far as our fan base of what we did not land. I need y'all to actually do something as far as winning goes before we even respect the conversation of speaking to you of matter. Because right now, when I see a Gator logo, I see a dumpster full of just manure. When I look at Miami, I see a dumpster full of candy canes, because I give them the candy canes because at least they do have a recruiting, I guess, of some sort. The problem is the same 2 garbage men pick those cans up every Wednesday, and they dump those into the garbage truck and take it off. So I'm not understanding why y'all want us to say, oh, y'all out recruited us because you got 2 top 6 players. Oh, You out recruited us because you landed a top class. Supposedly, you've had the greatest coaching staff in history of college football, and that got nothing done. Now you've got the greatest class, according to y'all, in the history of college football, and that's not going to do anything for you because you've got the quarterback killer as your head coach. And here's the thing. Once you out-recruit us in the high school rankings on all these guys that will not play for you, actually they probably will because y'all have no talent other than that. Outdo us in the portal. Outdo us on the field. Win the game. You know, the reason that we recruit, the reason that we go in the portal and we get guys is to win the football games. Y'all are doing such a great job half-ass. Congratulations to you. You are pulling in talent, but you can't use it. You don't know how to utilize it. That's why they enter the portal. That's why they will leave. The U has been back for 23 years, yet they have yet to be back. I don't know what we're talking about. Y'all are a tropical storm at best. And I don't know if you noticed Florida State fans, but we like to go out there and just completely let the tropical storm hit us in the face because it doesn't mean anything. So beat us and then you can talk to me. Till then, I'm not going to respect that you even have a voice.
Yeah, you made a very important point right there. And this goes out to the FSU fans, and the Miami fans can kiss our butts. But, you know, if you're hung up or these guys are trolling you about this and that or a class, look, it's apples to oranges, all these different programs and what they do with talent and what they do when they get in there. Look what Mike Norvell has done with what he has brought in. Compare yourself to yourself. This class compared to the 22, 21, all these 23, the other classes, it's far and away the best one. So just relax. The conversion rate is at such a higher level in Tallahassee. And maybe we can get a couple of those guys if they're any good. Maybe a Derek Plaus, like James says, in a couple of years, realizes he wants to do a year with the good guys. We'll see. But yeah, just be thankful for the guys we got. And it's all about the Noles, man. That's about it.
Yeah, I am looking at the adjusted rankings, and man, some of these classes, Oregon and Miami, are up to 30 players. A lot of commits.
I mean, it's like, you know, and again, this is why I don't really get into all of this, because Miami talked about how good their recruiting class was last year, and then the year before that, and then the year. I mean, they were the eighth overall ranked class, 7th in the composite.
They had a good class last year. You know, that's what I don't get. It's like
they did. Like I said, recruiting has never been the problem. I mean, even the class that they had when Mario first got there, it was the 12th ranked class, 13th ranked class, excuse me, composite 16, and that's not even going to the transfer portal. Like when they talk about how many transfers Florida State got, Miami's taking more transfers. Last year, Miami took, if I remember correctly, like 40-something players.
They got 27 total, I think, to us. No, 25 for us.
Recruiting. Yeah, 27 total guys.
I thought you were talking about the portal. Yeah, over the 2-year period that Mario's been there, they took 27, and we took 25. My bad.
I was talking about just last year alone.
Yeah.
Just last season alone, between high school recruits and portal players, over 50% of their roster was new last year. And they're on track to probably bring in another 40. I don't know if people realize this. You only get 85 scholarship guys. So, like, obviously some of those guys were seniors, and they're going to move on and things of that nature, some of the transfer guys they got. But it's like, you can't bring in new, like, somebody eventually has to have been Miami. So, like, you know, they're doing what they feel like they need to do and what's best the Mario way. And like I said, if it works for you, then great. It's yet to prove itself on the football field. And all I've seen us do is get significantly better. And again, what we're looking at right now with this class right here is raising the floor. And, you know, again, once I see how the transfer portal works out, I like to bet. I don't like to bet money. I just like to bet money with people who are overconfident about something and they go too wild. So I always tell people to stand on your business. And most of the time they all back away, which was a shame this year because I actually was willing to bet the spread with some people. Some people said money line. They might have got money in the loss if they'd have just bet me on the spread. But they didn't even feel confident that they would do that. But you know, like I said, they have to solve their quarterback situation. We'll see what they get moving forward. But at the end of the day, I like my team. They had a good recruiting class. I have no trolls for you on that because I don't give a damn about that. I, as I say on my show a lot, do not go around parading little boys and daydreaming. And my day does not get ruined by what 17-year-old boys do. Like, that is some to catch a predator stuff. Like that's just not what we do. If they choose to come to Florida State, it's great. That's why I do MFTK. And, it stands for Mentors for the Kids, but it also stands for something else. If they're not coming to Florida State, then God bless them as long as their interest doesn't interject with ours. But I still believe that when it comes down to it, when toe meets leather, that first weekend in November, if it's played the way it's been played the last few years, we'll be hearing the same thing. You beat us on the football field, but we beat you in recruiting again. And, good for you. If that's what makes you happy, then dope. I'm with you. Y'all go ahead. Y'all win recruiting every year in the offseason battle, and we're going to try to win these football games over here and try to win the ACC again, which, again, to me, that's always the goal. Win the ACC and hope to get picked in the College Football Invitational. In fact, if y'all were better, we would be in the College Football Invitation. That's the problem. My real gripe is that y'all are so good, but y'all suck at the same time, and you ruined our opportunity to go to the College Football Invitational by being so, like, our strength of. They always say, "Look at who you played," and I have to go look at Miami and Florida, and they didn't hold up their end of the bargain. That's messed up. If that's how I gotta win in life, by being so bad that it affects somebody else, that's not the right way to do it.
So, James, next year what we're going to do is when we beat both of them, but we beat Florida with 2 of the top 6 players, and we beat Miami with one of the top ranked classes. That means we get in, right? That's what we're going to use next year. That's what I'm going to use. But we beat them, so we're in, right? That's how this works. It's not strength of schedule. It's not how good they played. It's about what's on their roster. They've got all these guys, so we win, right?
That's right. If the most talented teams are supposed to be selected for the playoff, then if you beat the most talented teams, then you should definitely go to the playoff, regardless of what their crappy record is. I would also say this: if you're going to make a direct comparison, I could select any one of these teams, but Texas is right next to Miami currently in the rankings. So Texas has 4 5-stars. Miami has 2. Texas has 16 4-stars. I'm sorry. Did I say that wrong? Texas has 4 5-stars. Miami 2. Texas has 16 4-stars. Miami 11. Miami's got 17 3-stars. And Texas has 3. And everybody around them is in the 3 to 5 range for 3-stars. Now, we all know that there can be tremendous 3-stars. They can be high-end 3-stars. There are going to be 3-stars in all these classes that turn out to be really good players, but most of them won't. And so they've built a class, and it's a really good class. I'm not knocking it down. I'm going to have a Miami show at 7 o'clock Eastern time, everyone. It's an excellent class, but there are 17 3-stars that have bulked up this class to 30 commits. That is a big part of that total points, total number.
They call it fraud.
Yeah, it's one of these classes like you have seen throughout the years. Dan Mullen, Jimbo Fisher even did it towards the end of his thing, where it's like there's a ton of guys in there, couple 5-stars that were kind of promiscuous in the recruiting style that land down there. And then, yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, I lean towards fraud as well.
All right,
surprise,
folks.
surprise.
I am turning this around to jump on over to, appropriately enough, Talk Miami Football on our Kane show over on the Miami channel with Cam Underwood at 7 o'clock, which is in like 2 minutes. Join George at Renegade Report. Join James at Den Media Group right here on. Are you still doing a giveaway, James?
The money when we get to 4,000 followers, yeah.
Yes.
We're 114 away.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
If we get into if I put it like this, we about to go at 8 p.m. We're doing the show. If we get to that on the show at 8 p.m., I'll give it away today. If not, we'll give it away on whatever the next big games BS that we do. But we're doing a follow-up to recruiting so people can come join the channel. Tell Cam I said, what's up, man? Can't wait to see him down in Miami when we go to visit the Seminole Hard Rock Stadium.
All right. And we'll do one more go around so nobody misses the next live show. For James, 8 o'clock tonight on Den Media Group. Chris, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Spear Addicts, Renegade Report. When are you going live next, George?
We'll go Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
There you go. You're covered the rest of the week. 1 hour from now with James. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time with Chris. Friday night with George. There we go. Guys, appreciate it. Have a good night.